Welcome to this episode of So Here's the Thing. I am your host, Sharon Shea Alexander. And in honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, today we have a special guest with us. Her name is Aisha Wallace. She is the CEO and founder of Shattered Voices Unheard. Shattered Voices Unheard is an organization, a nonprofit that gives help and resources to domestic violence individuals. And if you need any help, please stay tuned to this episode because towards the end, we will share contact information in order for you to reach to Ms. Wallace. Ms. Aisha Wallace, thank you so much for coming. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a blessing to be here.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Can you give a little insight to Shattered Voices Unheard and some of the resources that you provide?
Shattered Voices Unheard is a nonprofit organization for battered women from ages 18 and above. Our organization gears towards empowering and providing a 6-month intensive plan to provide the women with rehabilitation.
Okay.
We also provide educational tools. We provide shelter, and also we provide homeless outreach.
Okay, and that's really great to know because there are a lot of people that are suffering and they feel, as much as you hear about domestic violence awareness and you hear about all these different there's so many people that are suffering right now and are afraid to tell. So what motivated you to start this organization?
Outside of me knowing that God called me to a purpose, I know what that pain feels like.
Okay.
I know what that pain feels like. And I also know, not outside of the pain, I know what it's like not to have that intensive support.
Wow.
And a lot of times, I'm going to say 85 to 90% of the time, that's the exact reason why women decide to stay with their abuser that long.
Because of lack of resources?
Because lack of resources, lack of support. It could be a situation where they're codependent.
Okay.
Because they feel like they don't have that support or that one-on-one support that they may need.
So when you say codependent, meaning they're with their abuser because they don't have the means or resources to leave.
They don't have the resources to leave. Sometimes they don't feel good about themselves.
Okay.
Sometimes it could be a lack of education for so many different reasons. You know, for me, myself personally, because I am a domestic violence survivor. Yes. In my situation, it was, just working telemarketing jobs, going from retail, working in retail, or just not feeling worthy enough to either, at my age, go back to school to further my education, or it was just feeling unworthy.
Was that an internal thing? Was that you feeling that way about yourself, or your abuser making you feel like you weren't capable?
Well, usually one of the tactics that the abuser does use is to make the woman feel less of themselves or unworthy.
Okay.
So it plays a factor of both. For me, it was my abuser would always say to me, "You're never going to be anything without me." And it sticks with you.
Wow.
It sticks with you, especially if you've went through some type of trauma as a child. It could have been that you were verbally abused by a loved one, parent, or just a teacher. Teacher, you could have been in a teacher's class and the teacher could have made you feel a certain kind of way.
I've seen it.
Yeah, but I always tell people it stems from someplace, right? It stems from somewhere. And for me, it was just, well, God, I'm codependent on this person because I don't feel good to go back to sit in a classroom, and I'm, let's say at the age of 35, and I'm sitting in a classroom with kids that are like 25 and under, right? So all of those different things play a factor in why a woman stays in a situation so long.
Okay. Now I have two questions for you. Number one, how many different types of abuse is there? Does it have to be physical to be abuse?
No, it doesn't. Actually, there's more than one type of abuse. I always tell people physical is something that you can see. It's visual. But there's so many different other types of abuse. It can be financial abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse. It could be abuse that's coming from the workplace. It could be abuse that's coming from a boss. It's so many different types of abuse.
The reason why I asked that question is because a lot of people are in these situations and they're not even aware that they're being abused. Because it's not physical, they're not aware that someone tearing down their self-esteem,
Absolutely.
tearing away at them emotionally, mentally, like you said, financially. You won't survive without me. So where are you going to go?
That's right.
You won't get a job paying more than such and such.
That's right.
How are you going to feed yourself?
That's right.
So there's that.
That's right.
And so what I want people to take away from your story is that it does not have to be just physical for it to be abuse.
It doesn't. And usually physical comes along with the verbal abuse and the emotional abuse.
So it starts maybe with the verbal one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It starts with the verbal abuse. It starts with the emotional abuse. Those are some of the tactics that are used
Wow.
that will lead up to physical abuse. It always happens that way because in the beginning, think about it. You're dating someone, and it's you're in like bliss, you're in like a marital bliss stage. You're dating, you're traveling, you're doing this, you're going places, you're spending time with this individual, and then they're basically love bombing you, basically.
Okay.
And then boom. But all along, the verbal abuse was there. The emotional abuse was there because they would say certain things that would make you feel, unworthy or make you question yourself about who you are. For example, my significant other would always say sometimes, like, I would get a new hairstyle and they would say, oh, well, what did you do? Why did you change your hair color? I don't like that. It would just be a tear down from that point.
Okay.
I don't like that. You need to change that. It doesn't look good. It makes you look old or you look fat or it looks like you've gained weight. Those are some of the tactics that they would start with. But then it would lead up to the physical abuse.
Do you feel, my second question was, I heard you say several times women, but can we also include the men? Because some men feel like we don't acknowledge the fact that they could be experiencing domestic violence, abuse.
Absolutely.
Emasculating a man, tearing him down.
Absolutely. I had a friend recently, just was calling to say, oh, I love what you're doing in the community, just giving me kudos, about just stepping out there and being the voice for women, who may feel voiceless. And, we were talking and he said, it's all fine and good, for women. But what about us men? And I chuckled, I laughed. And I'm like, boy, please, what are you talking about? Like, and he's like, no, Aisha, I'm serious. Like, men use myself as an example. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I was verbally abused by one of his children's mother.
Wow.
So like I said, it stems back to, it's not always physical.
Right.
It's not always physical. And sometimes, based off of our culture, sometimes it's the culture, sometimes it's, the way that the woman was raised, in a lot of homes, not steering off the subject, but in a lot of homes, women are taught to demasculate, to make a man feel, to make a man feel very, very small, especially if he's not living up to the expectations of that woman or that woman's family. That's another topic.
But it is abuse.
But it is abuse.
Does your organization also assist men if they want resources or they're looking for?
We have never to this day dealt with a male that has, reached out for services, but we will. we will provide services, case by
Okay.
case to males, if they would reach out to us and need service.
Right. Because like you said, the victim has to want
Yeah.
help. They have to want an escape plan. They have to
Absolutely.
want strategy, an
Absolutely.
exit strategy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We don't want to, we say that our organization gears towards women because that's the scope of where we are right now,
Okay.
with the services and the advocacy that we provide in our community, right? But, we're not going to turn anyone away either.
Right.
We're not going to turn anyone away. So I just wanted to put that out there and shine some light on that. We don't want anyone to feel as though they can't speak up,
Right.
because where our organization can't provide, we partner, with a lot of different local organizations.
And I love that. I did my research and I did notice that Shattered Voices Unheard is not an organization that is out there without support.
Absolutely.
You all are not out there by yourselves.
Absolutely.
So would you like to elaborate maybe on a few of the organizations or like government, maybe city, county, or state that you all do collaborate with
Well,
or
right
supported by?
now, we just did a huge feeding, a homeless feeding in the city of Homestead, where our organization received a proclamation for, and it was a few other organizations where we got together as women, being in the nonprofit world, we got together and we just collaborated
I love
on,
that.
on just providing services, food, clothing, shoes, perishable items, things that women, children, it was massive. In fact, we were two of the organizations, which is Young Dreams and Company Foundation. They did an interview with Channel 10. And it was a huge, huge turnout. It was a huge turnout. We also have an event coming up with the Lotus Shelter of Miami, the Lotus
Okay.
House Shelter of Miami. We have a Tea Party workshop
Okay,
that's
so you
coming up
have
with
several
them.
different things to keep people. Now, let me say this. Is it okay for someone who's experiencing domestic violence to come to these without actually being ready to leave their situation? Is it okay for them to attend these?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I always tell people, because that is also a part of our program. We provide consultation services to
Okay.
women who are not ready to leave. Everybody's not ready to take that step.
Okay, so get it
Because-
going right there. How many years, if you don't mind, did you stay in your situation before you made an exit?
I was in my situation for over a decade.
Oh, wow. And how far into that relationship did you think to yourself, I have to get out of this, I need to leave?
It was a situation for me where I could remember in my home at the time, I could remember where, I knew that if I left, I knew it was going to get worse before it got better.
Were you in the relationship at this time, maybe a
I was
year, 2 years?
I was in the relationship
far
at this
into it?
time, maybe about 4 or 5 years.
That's
at the
when you
time.
started to notice that this is abusive, this is not
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Well, it was always abusive, but I wasn't ready to accept it.
Okay, and I like that.
Acceptance is something totally, totally different.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that the individual was abusive, and I knew the situation that I was in was getting worse. I knew what it was from day one, but I just wasn't ready to accept it, and I wasn't ready to take that step. And that next step is a huge step, because you're leaving a situation. 9 times out of 10, you're torn completely down. You don't have the resources, you don't have the money, you don't have anywhere to live. And if the woman has children like myself, I had a son, he was a young boy at the time, you have to kind of like, I don't want to use the word gamble, but you have to plan in a sense, to make an exit.
Okay.
But sometimes it doesn't always work that way.
Have you
you
tried
can't-
and failed at getting out of the situation?
Absolutely, more than one time.
You want to talk about what some of that looks like? Because there could be someone right now who's thinking, well, I tried.
If I could recall, I remember one day waking up and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't live like this. You know, like this is, if something's not going to happen to me, then something's going to happen to the other individual, because you're in that much fear, you know, of the leaving the situation, which is the unknown,
Okay.
and staying in the situation. And because you don't know what could trigger this individual. You don't know what makes this individual, because every day is a roller coaster.
So you're basically walking on eggshells.
Absolutely. So
Wow.
one morning I woke up and I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. So at the time I called a friend, you know, and I'm like, hey, you know, I want you to take me to the Greyhound station. And I want you to take me. I got to get some tickets. I got to get out of here, you know, because I don't know what's going to happen. Now my son is of age and he's, you know, experiencing certain things. You know,
Noticing things
he's
too.
noticing things when it happens. And he's a boy. And boys, they want to protect their moms, you know. And it was just a situation to where if I don't do it now, then I'm not going to do it. So I purchased the tickets. I packed up everything, well, the things that I could. And I went to the Greyhound station. And at this time, we had moved out of Florida. We were living in a different state. And I got all the way to Atlanta and turned around.
Wow.
Yeah.
You made it all the way out of your situation.
Yeah.
Why did you turn?
Now, mind you now,
Wow, sorry.
and I always say this to women, it's not that, because I don't ever want anyone to feel as though my family wasn't there. They were there. It's just that sometimes people don't know how to be there.
Okay.
You know, they don't know how. They're there for you the best way they know how to.
Right.
You know, so I'm never going to say that I didn't have the support. It's just that a lot of times I wouldn't say anything.
See, and that's it. Can I just say this? It makes me want to cry to hear that you got so far
Yeah.
and
this
turned
is-
around.
Yeah. And this is why I tell people it's mental.
Okay.
It's mental because
That's crazy.
so many times I would call my friends, you know, and I would say, this is it. I'm leaving. I can't do this. This is not my life. And I always knew that God had greater for me, you know, but it's just, again, they get so stuck down in your mind and it makes you feel like just exactly what they tell you.
That is true.
You're nothing.
Right. So what was the thought that actually made you get so far away from the situation and turn around and come back? What was the thought? What made you say, no, I got to go back? What was it?
If I could be honest, I was used to a certain lifestyle.
Okay, that this person provided.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was used to living a certain lifestyle. You know, they always say the white picket fence, you know, 2-story home, the dog, the white fence. I was used to living a certain way, and I knew that if I walked away from that situation right then, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Wow.
I couldn't provide the things for myself or my son at the time, you know, and it was just, you're right, Aisha, you can't. You're never going to be anything without this person. These things start to play out in your mind. And, you know, sometimes people feel as though, you know, domestic violence or that situation is not that, oh, she over exaggerating. Oh, I would get it. I would get it from certain people. Let me just say that. to keep it broad, and it would be like, oh, well, she's over exaggerating, she's crazy, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I would get it.
So that
You
also made
name
you
it.
feel like I can't leave because either they're not going to believe
Absolutely.
me, they're not going to
Absolutely.
support me. If I give
Absolutely.
up what I have, which to some degree I'm comfortable with, I'm definitely
Absolutely.
familiar with,
Absolutely.
I have no place to go.
Because these people, make no mistake about it, these people have a way of using their leverage or their financial situation to
Control you.
bribe or to control. And a lot of times, people, my abuser would use their financial situation, to gain control of
Right.
these individuals. And
So
it would
that's
be
where
like,
that's the financial abuse that you
Absolutely.
were talking about.
absolutely, because it would be like, oh, well, oh, hey, how you doing? Let's go out for drinks, or let's go out to eat. Let's go here, let's do this, let's go there, let's go there. Because not only are they providing the lifestyle of the lavish for you, they're doing it for others too. It could be friends, families, it all depends. But they're doing it with a motive.
Right.
They're not doing it because this is something that I want to do,
It's
or
just
it's
a way to
from the
control
heart.
and
It's
to
just
manipulate.
it's just another form of control.
Right. So did you ever leave? Because you said you left several times. Did you ever leave and that person, your abuser, was the one that coerced you or convinced you into coming back?
No.
It was always you, either your
So,
mental state.
It was always, when I say leaving, I mean leaving the situation, because remember, we live together. So when I say leave, I mean leave the house, move out as a whole. But it will be times where I would leave and they would, stalk me, or it would get physical. It would get really bad. It would get
Wow.
really bad.
So here's the thing. I actually had a friend who experienced domestic violence. She was in a situation, a relationship with someone for years, and he physically abused her. He did all of the other things, the verbal, emotional, financial abuse, and always physical. And so it got to a point where didn't matter what anybody told her, she wouldn't leave. And in her situation, he would always leave whenever he would abuse her. And being a friend, I would always see her let him come back. So for me, that was very confusing and a lot of times very frustrating. And so when you said that you got all the way to Atlanta and came back, it triggered me because I was that friend who was there and saw several times, several moments where she actually was free from the situation and turned around and went back.
And this is why I always
What would
say,
you have needed from me as a friend? Because it's not the same trauma. Trust me, it's not. But it is also very traumatic for someone who loves you and cares about you to sit by, stand by, and watch and witness this and see that you have a way out and that you're either not taking it or you're going back to the situation. Like, what would you want from me as a friend?
sometimes I don't need you to be my friend, if that makes sense. Sometimes I just need you to show up. And although we know that God is a comforter, we know that. But it's always that physical comfort, that physical support, that one may need at the time. And I don't need you to critique me. I don't need you to tell me, oh, if you don't leave, this is going to happen. I know that. I know that if I don't leave, it's going to get really, really bad.
So how do you expect me to show up?
Sometimes I just need you there. Sometimes I just need you to show up and come in, if we just laying in the bed, talking, reminiscing, about the good things in life. I could just need you to just lay there, with me and cry. It's not always I need you to show up as my friend, as this superhero.
Right, and save you
And
fix
save me.
it.
Because I don't need you to save me.
But sometimes, okay, I will say this, and I don't know if your organization, Shattered Voices Unheard, gives assistance to friends of victims, But I think it would be maybe a good thing because I showed up for my friend. Sometimes when I didn't want to because it was just too much for me, but I had to keep reminding myself, Sharon, it's not you. Can you imagine this is bothering you, but she's experiencing it. So
Absolutely.
I showed up, but sometimes it was hard.
Absolutely.
Does your organization offer any type of counseling or advising services?
We do provide counseling services, but it's not for the friend, it's for the actual.
Well, we need help because we want to be there. We want to show up. But, that's another resource maybe your organization can think about.
It is.
Another
and
service.
And that is something that we possibly could add to our support group.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So hopefully Shattered Voices Unheard will be adding services for friends
Yes.
of domestic violence survivors. We're going to call them survivors.
Absolutely.
And also inclusive to men who also deal with emotional abuse, financial
Absolutely.
abuse, and abuse altogether. It could be physical. As a culture, we don't normalize the fact that men sometimes do get physically abused in relationships.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
men are taught to do what?
To be a man.
To be a man. Man up.
Okay.
You crying?
Right.
Why are you crying?
So they hide that.
Of course.
It's a lot of shame involved.
Of course, because again, you see how a friend of mine confided into me about
Yes.
it, and I laughed.
Because you,
Like,
right.
what are you talking about? You a man. You can handle that. But in actuality, they can't,
Right.
because they're human just like we are.
Yes.
They feel just like we do.
I love that. And on that note, Aisha, thank you so much for showing up today.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. I've
Thank
never cried on
you.
my show before. But I just want to say this, that you are fearless, you are strong,
Thank you.
and I admire the distance that you have gone to be a survivor and to empower and uplift other people who are dealing with the situation. Shattered Voices Unheard is an amazing organization.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
And we pray nothing but absolute success and the best for you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for saying yes to this invitation.
Thank you.
It was amazing to have you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you. And signing off, I'm Sharon Shea Alexander. Thank you for tuning into this episode of So Here's the Thing. Thank you for joining us for this powerful episode of So Here's the Thing. Remember, no one should ever suffer in silence. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, help is available right now. You can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. Trained advocates are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to offer free, confidential support. You can also visit shatteredvoicesunheard.com to learn more about resources, upcoming events, and ways to get involved in supporting survivors. Together, we can raise awareness, break the silence, and help shatter the cycle of abuse. I'm Sharon Shea Alexander, and this has been So Here's the Thing. Thank you for watching, and remember, your voice matters.